What's up, everyone? This is Josh from Story of the Year. May the rock be with you.
All right. G'day, Josh. How are you, mate?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Welcome to May the Rock be with you, buddy. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. You too.
No worries. Now, it has been just over 10 years since we last chatted, so let's catch up. How the last decade been for you?
Oh, busy. Bit not so much busy with band stuff, but that's the last few years. But just life, kids, and that. Yeah,
All the
family
fun
life.
stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, we're of course here because you're headed back to Australia in August. Now, you're celebrating the
Yep.
20th anniversary of the debut album, Page Avenue. So when you do these sorts of anniversary shows, how are the sets going to shape up?
So we've done it two ways. We've done it like the album front to back, like start at 1 and at 12. And then we found out that that doesn't really work so well live because, Hero's cool. We jump out with that. We always do. But then we play Until the Day I Die and Anthem second and third.
Yeah.
And then the show just kind of goes kind of downhill from there. So now we play every single song, but just not in order. And we've also we mix in some other songs from other albums. That's kind of what we've been doing, and it seems to work really well.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah.
Is there ever a way, is it in essence relearning some of these songs you may not have played for a long time, or have you kept them constant over the years and you sort of know them when you have to throw them in?
Most of them, yes. There's some that, before we started touring here in the States on this, that we hadn't played in a while. So yeah, you got to kind of go back and remember some things. So that's always interesting.
No, fair enough. Now, I've seen you guys live a number of times, and as recent as Knotfest last year, which was awesome. And your
Okay,
live show,
sweet.
yeah, it's always a spectacle. How important is the live aspect of the band to you?
Extremely important for us. I think just we've always prided ourselves on putting on a really good show. We've never been one of those bands that people call them shoegazers, I guess.
Yeah.
Where they just look down and don't interact with the crowd and don't look like they're having any fun. That's just not our vibe. We've always just kind of, we're all early to mid 40s, so we grew up watching MTV in the 80s and early 90s. So we grew up on hair metal and big spectacles of shows and lots of running around and flips and all the things that they did. But we just it's more of a thing of these people are paying to come see you. Nowadays people are getting babysitters, and this could be their only night out for the month or whatever. So it's really important to us to make sure that everybody is having a good time and seeing that we're having a good time, because we are. Because at this age and this stage in our career, it's if we're not having fun, what's the point? You know what I mean? You can make music all day and have fun with that, but to actually go be on tour, be away from our families, that kind of stuff, it has to be fun. We have to make money too, but it also has to be fun.
Yeah, gotta do that.
Money. Yeah. But yeah, so it has to be a good time. And we went through so many years of yes, we're having fun. Somebody would mess up. Everyone on stage is mad at that person. We had a 10-minute meeting afterward pointing out all the things that everybody messed up on. And it just became what are we doing? We're not robots. This isn't, we're going to mess up. So we just laugh now. It's just funny when one of us messes it up. Because 95% of the people in the crowd don't know anyway, unless it's something major. If I flub a drum fill or miss a snare, nobody notices. It doesn't matter. So we laugh and have fun with it now is really all that happens.
Excellent. I love that. That's the best way to do it, man. That keeps it going too. It keeps it fresh. It keeps it fun. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for us is just something new every night, just and not saying the same single things every single night. That happens just because I'm not the singer, so I'm not talking. So I can understand how you kind of get into a routine and think that it's just easy. But we're so weird on stage anyway that I have to like start a song like quickly because Adam and Dan will get going talking like nonsense. And I just kind of go, okay, this has been too long. I'm going to go ahead and start this intro. Shut up.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, you've been to Australia a number of times over the years. Do you have a favorite memory of a tour down here?
Yeah, it would have been our second time down there. So the first time we came down there was in '05 with International Taste of Chaos, which was super rad. And then the next time we came back, we were headlining, and it was with Blogging Molly and Emery, I
Hmm.
think. And it was in Sydney. This show was sold out, and it's still to this day our biggest headlining show we've ever played. And it
Wow.
was 6,500 people or something like that. So I mean, that's just a great memory in general because like we walked into the venue that day and went, "How are we gonna have this is gonna look weird because there's no way we sold this out." But then I walked on stage and it was full and it was so much energy and it was rad. Every time we come there, it's amazing. I love it there,
Hmm.
and the crowds are just they make it that much better.
Good stuff, man. We look forward to having you. So it's going to be a great time. I'm in Sydney, so of course we turn it on for you, man. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Now,
most of these shows will be sold out by the time we get there. So that's awesome.
perfect. It's what you want. Now, let's look back to the release
Yes.
of Page Avenue, because what's your best memory of releasing your debut album?
Oh man. J- just for the simple fact that it happened. I
Yeah.
mean, that was because we had been a band for a while, but after like when we got signed, it was just kind of a whirlwind. It's like if I just like when you're in the middle of it, you don't realize what's happening.
Hmm.
So it's like we got signed in October of '02. The record came out in September of '03. So it was very like quick. And we were recording and writing and that we did that in a couple different stints. And then, you know, we literally had packed our house up that we lived in Southern California to drive home to move back home to St. Louis. Stopped at the studio on the way to finish like some vocal stuff and then drove home.
Hmm.
And then that took 2 days to get home. We got pretty good at driving straight through, so it's
Wow.
like 30 hours. And we got home. We're home for 4 days. We practiced for a couple of them, and then immediately left and started a tour with the Used, Thrice, and My Chemical Romance.
Wow.
And
You
then it
just,
was just touring. It was just touring. But like the biggest memory I have for when it was released was me and Dan went down there at midnight and waited in line to like buy our own CD. And we were
awesome.
just standing. I mean, there was a line, and we were standing in line with people who knew our band that were waiting to get it too. And then it was just weird to do that. You know what I mean? And then I think the next day was our CD release show in St. Louis. So like we stayed up that late, but I could sleep later back then. But then the next day was like the show and stuff. So that was it. That's like a real core memory for me of the album coming out.
That's awesome. Did the people recognize you in the line while you were waiting?
I mean,
Yeah.
some people, but just people that just used to come to like local shows and stuff like that. But um, everybody knows who Dan is more than they know who I am, and that's just kind of how it is.
Hmm. Fair enough. Now, let's
I'm
also
okay.
look to
I'm
your
okay with that most of the time.
yeah, it's fair enough too. Let's look to the newest album, Tear Me to Pieces. So that was
Uh-huh.
released last year. How has the band's approach to songwriting and making albums evolved since sitting down to make the debut 20 years ago?
A lot.
Yeah,
It's so I mean, yeah, obviously everyone talks about their first record. Like you have your front half of your entire life to make your first record. So that one's always going to be just totally different. And then the subsequent records was a lot harder, I guess, because you know after you put out a record and it did what it did, you're expected to do this other thing next. like kind of repeat the same thing. So became more of like work, I guess. Showing up to Ryan's house 5 days a week from 11 or noon until 6 or 7 or whatever, and sitting in a room and staring at each other and try. Ryan would make demos like he always did, but then um, he would, he'd show us the demos and then we'd learn them and do what we did with them and change things and whatever. That was like the next, you know, second, third, and fourth record. And then we took a long break. And then on Wolves, we went to a format of like almost just like Dan and Ryan sending demos back and forth.
Hmm.
Because at that point in time, like some of us had jobs, and so we weren't getting together all of the time because we had taken like a 7 year break essentially. We
Hmm.
played some shows here and there, did a couple flyouts, things like that, but we weren't like an active band anymore, and then we were all had families and kids. So it's like, hey, I have to make money somehow.
Yeah.
So we had jobs and stuff. So we weren't getting together all the time. So it became an emailing of demos, and then once we sat down to really do that fifth record, it was okay, well, what are we actually going to use? And then from there, that's when I like would really start learning something and putting my whatever on it, because like I wasn't going to learn 30 songs and not use 20 of them.
Hmm.
It's just kind of a time thing, you know what I mean? So time and energy. But then, so with Tear Me to Pieces, this was the first time in our entire career where we explored co-writing with people. And most of the time with that, it still begins with like a demo of Ryan's that we show somebody, whoever we sat down with, whatever. Here's 4 songs, whatever, and
Hmm.
then we'd go, you'd pick whatever out of those, and so we did that with a few different people. I mean, we didn't use everything, obviously, but most of like the co-writing came with the producer, Colin. I mean, that was, I would say, 90% of it
Hmm.
just in the studio. So pre-production took quite a bit of time, just because it was, you'd spend all day on a song and think you had it done, and then you'd come back in the next day and go, well, I don't think that part's right. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that was just the different aspect of it this time. And that's probably what we're doing on this next record, because we went out to LA and did like a week of like co-writing sessions with people or whatever. And um yeah, it's a little different than just being teenagers practicing a couple days a week and
Yep.
hear the song. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
This will do.
a little more professional nowadays, I guess.
I like it. Now, let's look back over your career because it can be very easy to say what can change over time, right? But what's the one thing that's always remained the same about Story of the Year?
I would say, I mean, at the core of it are us being friends. I mean, that's at the core of it for us. I mean, yeah, we've had a couple lineup changes, but not lineup changes to the sense that we're bringing new people in.
Hmm.
Just one guy quit, one guy took over bass, that guy left the band, the original bass player came back, but like this core four that's currently the band is what started in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Hmm.
And that's, I think just our friendship has been what's the most consistent thing. Cause I mean, me, Ryan, and Dan, we've all known each other since we were 14, 15 years old.
Wow.
So it's like, we grew up skateboarding together before we played music together. So that's been the most consistent thing as far as the band is concerned. But musically, um, I think just trying not to be like bound to anything in particular. Just, is the song good? Who cares what it sounds like? If it's good, it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Our style is going to be our style because Dan sounds how he sounds. Ryan plays guitar the way he plays guitar. I played, you know what I mean? It's just,
Mhm.
we're going to sound like we're going to sound, but not trying to like chase something. I think there's certain times we might have fell victim to that, as any band would do. But with Tear Me to Pieces, it was just like, let's just go make a dope record, and whatever happens, happens. With some guidance from Colin, the producer, who is a few years younger than we are and kind of grew up as like a fan of ours.
Nice.
So it was good to have an outside perspective to go, this is what your fans, this kind of stuff is
Mhm.
what your fans want to hear, not what, you know what I mean? Like it was
Yep.
good to have, because, you know, as when you're in a band, it's, you can kind of fall victim to just try, like you kind of regurgitate things because it's the same four people all the time or however many people doing the thing. So having an outside person kind of steer the ship and go, no, like let's try these other things because there's a way to be story of the year, but a new fresh version of it. And I think we did that really well with Tear Me to Pieces. So
Excellent. Good stuff. I love that answer. It's a great way to look at it, man. Now, if there was ever to be a documentary biopic made about the band, what would you want it to be called?
shit. um Probably something severely juvenile, just because we're all still 15 years old.
Who isn't?
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. Uh, that's a great question.
Hmm.
I mean, it would have. Oh, now you've got me stumped.
Nice.
It would have to be some kind of weird play on one of our album titles that is a ridiculous album. I don't know. I don't. I wish I could give you a cool answer, but the spanning of our like our lives and our friendship, it would be something juvenile for sure.
Yeah, I got one for you. Just call it documentary of the year. There you
Yeah,
go.
you can do that. That works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do that. All right. We'll work on that one. We'll shop that over the years. We'll talk next time. We'll figure
Yeah,
something
yeah,
out. Yeah.
for sure.
Now, lastly, let's look ahead to the future with a prediction. We do this every time we chat. So finish this sentence for me. By the end of 2024, story of the year will.
We'll hopefully be halfway through making a new record.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, we're supposed to put on a new record next year. So
Mm.
it seems like it's going to be a long time in between records for us because if the so what's today's 20, we finished the record in June of 2022
Mm.
and it didn't come out until March. So for us, it seems like a giant gap, but in realistic terms, it'll be a couple years, which is kind of, I don't know if it's normal nowadays. We're old, so we don't understand the new ways to do things sometimes.
Josh, thank you so much for your time, man.